Don't forget to check out this week's Weekend Roundup on DR Sports. We look at Tottenham's big win over Chelsea. Matisse back in the mud, unfortunately, but he will be here. And have Liverpool slipped up again in their battle for the top four? Listen, it's all discussed in the Weekend Roundup. Check it out on DR Sports.
Chelsea at the moment, it doesn't feel like there's any serious purpose or any serious, consequences for performance at the moment. It's just, we're going to just go game to game. If we win, lose, draw, it doesn't matter. We have context this week, excuse the next. This week, it was all about us watching the Amazon documentary from Arsenal to justify why Potter needs more time. Last week, it was the manager really prepared very well, but then the manager of Southampton came out and said, actually, I didn't get time to prepare very well. I was fuming about that. So
that Arsenal documentary was meant to be something Chelsea fans laughed at us about.
Yeah.
It actually has become something that people are mocking you for.
And I spoke about after the transfer window, the difficulty of managing 34 players, right? The squad is too big. And now reports are coming out today that Graham Potter is not able to get his training methods across because there's too many players. Now, that's all well and good, right? Because before it was, we didn't have enough players, we got too many injuries and there's no one to select. Now we've got too many players. Get ruthless. You pull that squad apart into two. Who are you working with and who are you not? You own a long-term contract, you have stability, you have authority. We just spoke about Ten Hag making massive decisions, being ruthless, being cutthroat. If you can't get your training methods across, which is hampering results, then do something about it. Get one of your coaches to take 10 players aside or 7 to 8 players aside that are not part of the plans, and unfortunately, you're just gonna have to live with that because there's every single fixture, there's key, important players that are left out of this squad that are not even on the bench. And that is purely because the squad is too big. So some hearts are going to have to get broken and then work with your 25-man squad and get some results. Because I said it last week and I say it again, if he continues to keep losing, his position will become untenable. No matter what we think of the context around the situation, no matter what we think of his credibility as a manager and he's not this bad or whatever, you cannot keep losing game after game after game after game. We're on 31 points. We are 10 points off the drop. The only reason why we haven't fallen into the bottom half is because Aston Villa have been in poor form, who got a win this weekend, and Palace also have no win in 5. Otherwise, we'd be 12th. So we're being propped up right now in 10th, propped up. So we're like 5 points behind Brentford, who are just above us, and they've got a game in hand or something. I think I need to check again. I mean, I'm up to my. I will say my head in this.
And I spent last week, giving the benefit of the doubt massively on the size of squad. When I was asking questions on who's making the decisions when it comes to signings, all these things I think are important for understanding how much blame Potter's got to take for what's going on and understanding whether a change of manager is the way to approach this. But I do have a question for you, Matisse. Yeah? Let me show you this. So here's Chelsea's average positions against Spurs, right? With anything in football, you literally do this when you're playing Football Manager. You look at combinations in areas of the pitch and you look at whose skill set complements another player's skill set, for example. Now, why does De Bruyne drift to the right so much? Well, because Mahrez hugs the touchline. So De Bruyne's got a space to attack with those inverted darting runs, inside runs as well, who can lay on a plate for Haaland. You work those kind of situations out. You work those combinations out. In the same way that Xhaka gets forward so that Zinchenko can cut in, and that's why Martinelli hugs the touchline. All that stuff is purposeful. When I look at Chelsea's average positions versus Spurs, it feels a little bit to me like
a cluster of attackers.
A cluster of attackers and Potter not actually recognising where the best combinations could be. So, for example, Ziyech, I notice his average position is wider than Reece James's. But the one thing they're both kind of good at. Ziyech is actually being inside. He's not the paciest player, can come inside and can play combinations. And Reece James loves to go on the outside and provide an overlapping option. I'll even add a third thing in there, which is João Felix, who's drifting wide left. I appreciate then later in the game he went, and that might have skewed it a little bit. But I'd have thought João Felix should be playing more on Ziyech's side because he's more of a combination player than Sterling, who can actually run in beyond. And then you've got Enzo who can feed. You've got Chilwell, who again is more outside than Sterling. So that feels a bit of an imbalance. So I look at those things, I'm thinking, you're not even getting the best out of the player's skill set by having them in the kind of pockets and areas of the pitch where they can do the most damage. Do you see that, or am I overthinking it?
No, I don't think you are. I think there's a clear lack of identity in our play. We're not good at pressing from the front. Our build-up play is non-existent as well. Against Southampton, our build-up play was horrendous. He dropped Badiashile for this game to bring in Koulibaly. I didn't quite understand that.
So he dropped him. Like, that was a change that he chose. It wasn't forced. It wasn't an injury.
It wasn't forced. No, I take that as a drop-in. I don't get why the centre-back pairing of Silva and Badiashile, which has been keeping clean sheets for a while now, is now taken away in a Premier League match. But in the end, it's not like Koulibaly was awful, but I just didn't get it at the time when the starting 11 came out. There is no clear patterns of play. There was a nice combination once in the second half between Sterling and Kai, and they didn't amount to anything. But it's
the ball
not
from Enzo
consistent.
to Felix in the first half was quite nice.
That's more an individual thing. It's nothing clear and apparent. There's no clear improvement and progression between from one game to the next. We looked at the West Ham game. We're scrabbling for a half an hour to try and take something from that game in a draw. Dortmund, they're much more transitional in terms of they leave a lot of space in behind, so we're going to create more chances. So I gave us more minus marks on that. I didn't want to overread into that, but now you're coming up against a resilient Tottenham team who are, going to sit off a little bit at times. Southampton, you're at home, you've got, tight pitch, you've got to create opportunities, and we haven't seen Chelsea with a clear plan on how they're going to create chances and test that goalkeeper. And now they're losing XG. So we were winning on the XG, now we're losing on XG. So we're not even able to grab at that. So Potter, at this point, I don't know what it is, this report of training methods, etc. I can understand it, but you have to do something about it. You have to. You must. Because if you don't start getting... for me, I said last week, I would have said, please, could you hand in your resignation, It's now going to become more a board problem. They're going to have to be very ruthless. Apparently, he's got the next 2 games to turn it around. They've got to make a decision. Leeds at home and Dortmund, who are literally on the best winning run of the season for them. They've won every single game in 2023. They just beat Hoffenheim on the weekend, and they're top of the league joint with Bayern. So
there you go.
1-0 down already. If you go out to Dortmund and you're out of the round of 16 in the Champions League, plus going out of both cups in the first round, even though it was against the Manchester City, but we saw Tuchel beat Manchester City plenty of times in his reign, you are asking for a sacking, regardless.
Fair enough. Let's see what happens. But credit to Tottenham as well, who did go and get that win, and that's 3 and 4 now.
DR Sports is entering the metaverse. Welcome to Habbo. Come play games and chat about the latest football drama. Meet up with friends, meet new people, and have a great time. I'll be there on special VIP days. Click the link or go to the website at habbo.com.